Philipp, you want to start to introduce yourself?
Yes, I can introduce myself. I'm Philipp Köhn. I'm one of the co-founders of 12 by 12. We like to call ourselves a Web 2.5 platform. Our vision or our mission is to shape the future of music and therefore provide a infrastructure, a compliant and technically secure infrastructure to all the stakeholders of the music industry, from artists to publishers to labels to collection societies, in order to enable them to move towards Web3.
Hey, I'm Chris. I am the founder of ACOY. I'm a former struggling musician as well. And the last 10 years I've been working as a product strategist. So coming back to music now is a full circle event for me, and I help onboard artists and labels which are eager to explore opportunities in the space.
Hi, I'm Ole. I'm not here, I guess.
Special guest. Special guest.
Yeah, so I'm a podcast host and a trader, but I also used to be a broke musician, so I think we got a lot in common here. Yeah, was a music producer and an artist, and now I'm coming back to my roots kind of through blockchain, and I'm excited to be here.
Hi, I'm Lukas. You probably know now who I am. So I help people onboard into Web3, but I also run a recording studio, and I'm a musician myself. So yeah, it all comes together here. Ole, maybe we start with you. How would you go about starting as a musician in Web3 nowadays? I mean, you said you struggled as a musician in the past. You lived it. How would you go about it nowadays with the new possibilities? Does it change something?
Yeah, definitely. So I've been thinking about this a lot actually, and talking to a lot of old friends who are bigger artists, smaller artists. So I think the most important point really is to just get started. It sounds kind of stupid, but it's just about getting some skin in the game, because I think Web3 is about experience. It's good to make some research, and but like the real magic happens once you kind of get into the rabbit hole. So my number one advice for every musician always is just get started, try to mint an NFT, buy an NFT, just get familiar with the magic of the technology. So I think it's always a great step just to get started, and sometimes I tell people just use an unscalable solution. It's not about conquering the world and getting 1 million buyers for your NFTs. So maybe it's just about, okay, find a cheap way to mint an NFT, use something like a layer 2, like Polygon, and mint an NFT cheap as you can. Just find your 5 most enthusiastic fans, just write them a DM on Instagram and tell them, okay, I see you're commenting on every single of my Instagram posts. Just send them an NFT. Just onboard them without them really asking to be onboarded, because once they have this, you establish a connection to your fans, and I think that's the main point. You want to create a human connection and a human experience through an NFT. So just try to get started as messy and as dirty and cheap as possible. Don't overthink the tech layer of it, and try to integrate people into your world via storytelling. We can talk about that more later, but yeah, just get going. That's my number one advice.
Yeah, I mean, you summarized it pretty well, actually. I'm also a big believer of artists just starting out with small experiments that are inexpensive, because the magic really happens if, because a lot of artists are also hard on themselves. They're perfectionists. They have self-doubt. They might have fear of rejection. So these are all struggles that you need to overcome as an artist. And one of these is just to go out, experiment. What I find really valuable is connecting with other artists and finding maybe a mentor, someone that is already in this space, someone that has done a music NFT drop or something else. So you can learn from their strategies of putting out something, also building up a community. What are they kind of giving back to the community? What kind of utilities do they provide? So sort of like tagging along and learning from them. So it's like, it's a learning curve, right? Because if you never put out something, you don't know what kind of magic can happen along the way.
Yeah, okay. No, I think both of the tips are super valuable. We always try to demystify it a little bit because I think there's a lot of complexity to the topic and the possibilities that you have, what you can do, because a token or an NFT is basically in a shallow container and you can put in whatever you want to put in. So the question that we often get is, how do I make NFT art? Or how do I make a music NFT? And we'll always try to explain. I mean, there have been so many innovations in the music industry on how you distribute the works that you do in your creations, right? And I think you have to think about Web3 and the new distribution opportunities that you have there. And I think it's worth for you to understand what does that mean for the music industry, what are the opportunities for you as an artist, and then start really small. And I couldn't agree more, right? Go out there are music NFTs, go out there, buy some. You can come to 12 by 12, it's not expensive. You know, for 15 euros, you can buy something, you can get the experience, what are utilities, you know, what are the things that I like, you know, and then find your own way of creating your token or your NFTs, and then really start small with a small community of your super fans, which I think we should talk about today as well, and then you can, you know, get loose a little bit about the fear and hesitations about destroying your brand and all that kind of stuff, right? And really get in understanding it. But I can never emphasize enough. You have to integrate it as a distribution channel, and not for now, not in a isolated single event where you become a multimillionaire next week, you know. But you know, about, you know, selling it again and again and again, you know, because when you're an artist today and you're looking forward to being creative and productive as an artist the next years and decades, you will distribute your content via Web3 technologies and frameworks and platforms. So why not, you know, go in there right now and try it out?
Is this what you meant with storytelling?
Not really. So I think I have to like start on a like different side note, I guess. I think if you look at content nowadays, like the main thing you should really focus on is storytelling. If you want to grow big on TikTok, for example, like everyone's trying to, oh my God, how can I go viral? And I'm seeing like one theme throughout every different platform for content is always storytelling. So how can you use storytelling with NFTs is the question probably. And for me, it's more like using NFTs as an entry portal into a universe you create. So let's say we have a band and they put out a new album. It's going to be, I don't know, the name is Live from Mars, like something like that. Something it's like the Mars is on the cover. And then you'll drop 100 NFTs for the inhabitants of the Mars. And then the fans can buy them and they can enter your universe. And you start to tell a story. So maybe the NFTs are different characters in the story. And the characters also will be used inside the songs. So I think musicians really have to step out of this. I'm only pushing out songs and it's like, here, have my stuff. But then now it's more, okay, how can I co-create and how can I introduce people into my universe and how can they partake in this big story I'm telling? So that's what I meant with storytelling.
So not just drop NFT by NFT, like you drop music after music, but tell a story around it.
Yeah, I think there are already musicians doing that, not necessarily in Web3, but I think all those musicians who start to build universes, they tend to really grow like in a more long-term fashion, because the listeners, they fall in love with the artist, with the music, but also with the universe. So it becomes part of their identity. And I think NFTs play a big part of NFTs is something related to social identity. And if you really play into that as an artist, I think it's one of the biggest opportunities.
I really want to add to that because essentially music has two components, right? Music has the instrumental part, the different instruments, and then it has the lyrical part. And through the lyrical part, you can tell a story, you can share your own experiences, failures, successes, how you feel inside. And that just feeds into the storytelling part, because what you say in the lyrics, you can transform via a project to your audience. You can tell them what's inside of you, because what streaming did the last few years, right, is we've got these playlists. Everyone is accessible to it. We're not really scanning through the lyrics anymore. We're not really listening to the artists, what they kind of try to say inside, what they try to take out, right? And they're probably going through some dark times also when they're writing that song, but through streaming you cannot really get that across, I feel like.
No, I think I totally agree, and I love that we have a little bit of a different perspective to it, because I do agree to produce just an album as your way as storytelling, as a musical artist or a musician, might not be enough to really, get the awareness and the engagement of a community moving forward. But my fear so this might be one of the utopias happening for the music industry. Maybe there's a new breed of artists and musicians coming our way. I love the idea of a headless artist. I don't know if you know about this, right? Where you really say, hey, in Web3, in the Metaverse, there's just going to be an avatar, and there's going to be like the band camp of 10, 12 people behind it, that all have a stake in this artist. And obviously this artist becomes much more creative and is not only driven by music. But on the other hand, I have to say the development on how the value is diminishing of the core asset of the music industry, which is the music, and gets infected by the main and legacy platforms that we have that decide with their algorithms how songs have to be produced. That it's more about quantity than it's about quality. And I think all the streaming platforms, they have proven that they have a right to be there, and they will also in the future. And it's great that they provide access, limitless access all over the world immediately to music. I love that about it, yeah. But obviously this arbitrary retrieval of music makes it very difficult to put a value behind it, And I think this is something that musicians struggle with the artists that we talk to. They become this track producing machine, where it's all about like every 2 weeks, every 3 weeks, I have to drop another track, and I have to make sure that the refrain comes with the first second immediately so that people are hooked, and I need to take care that they listen the 15 seconds, because if they jump off earlier and all that kind of stuff, I understand their reasons, why, but music and artists are so individual. And I think it's going to be a danger to creativity and for the industry if you try to, wash everything through the same algorithm and through the same platforms, making music somehow digestible for everybody out there. That's not the job, right? So I would say Web3 is a great opportunity for you to create the music the way that you want, reinvent storytelling by being able to create an album which tells a story already, add something to it. I think this is always depending on the character of the musicians. Might have a sense of going this way, and some might not. But the possibility to go out there and create an album the way that you want, put the 5-minute saxophone solo in front, you don't care, because there's your super fans. And the super fans, they're going to like it because it's credible, it's coming from you, and they will pay the price for it. They're already looking for it today, of ways of supporting their artists directly. And I think this is a huge opportunity for the music industry in total, but especially for artists. And on top of that, probably also for emerging artists that have for them, the revenue distribution of the music industry is very challenging right now, because streaming income obviously is something that is very attractive for IP holders that have a huge bunch of songs, you know, that produce a lot of cents every day. But for an emerging artist, these are really long drawn revenues. And I think Web3 gives you the possibility back to create front-loaded revenues for artists again, which we know from physical sales back in the days. You know, this is why life is so important. This is why merch is so important to artists today. And I think we have a possibility to, you know, bring this back to the digital virtual world, you know. And the last sentence, just to add to this, is then I'm done. And I think this is very important, that this is coexisting to streaming, right? It's not, it's complementary.
It's funny because that was my point, like, so I agree on that now, 100%. You touched on something that I think is another really important discussion, and I think it's all about the old, like, 1,000 true fans versus 1 million, like, anonymous listeners that don't give a shit about you, really, because it's really hard for them to give a shit about you, because I think you always have to think about how do people discover music, and if the artist is optimizing their workflow to produce as many songs as possible, to just get into those playlists that have 100 songs, and a listener will just listen to them while they work out, so they probably won't check out the artist. So that's like the mass market approach. And I think when we talk about Web3, we talk about the complete opposite. And I think if you have a huge trend on one side, it's natural to have a counter trend on the other side. So the 1,000 true believers, for me, it just makes sense on a, like, just if you look on the trend. And I would even say it's more about maybe the 10 or 100 true collectors versus 1 million streamers. And really focusing on how can I serve that audience is really an untapped opportunity. And I think most artists, for them it's still like, okay, will anyone buy these assets? But if you really focus on building a community and building a bond with your fans, those fans, they want to support you. And so I think that's like, if there's one thing I would try to give an inspiration for, it's just talk to your fans. Yeah. Talk to your fans, build a relationship, and you'll be surprised over some time, like how far some of your fans will go, maybe in money terms, but also in just like how they can support you in general. So yeah, I think that's like one of the main things to focus on. How can I serve my true or 100 true fans?
Yeah, I think it's really important what you just said. It completely turns the table, because what happens is the way artists have been building relationships at the moment is they can see faces of their fans when they connect with them via concert experiences. But if you buy a physical album or if you listen to a stream, there's no face behind. So the artist doesn't see who's reacting to their music, what kind of emotions they have when they listen to that music. And that the transparency that we get through blockchain technology and like NFT technology is you have a wallet address, it's a pseudonym for yourself, but and I'm gonna go in that talk. If you buy that NFT, the artist is gonna be so appreciative because they feel like you heard them. They feel like you heard what they're trying to say the whole time, and you're not just a stream, but you're just one of, maybe you've dropped like 100 NFTs, an addition of 100 NFTs. So you're one of these 100 people that are sharing their love for that artist. And that's a very powerful statement, because it creates this collective experience that everyone is in there for the same goal, being an ambassador for that artist and driving forth their musical career. And I think that's very powerful.
So in terms of storytelling, there's some other buzzwords out there, like Metaverse. Will we see, or is this an opportunity for musicians as well to use VR, AR, Metaverses in any kind of way?
Yeah, I can start. I think we as 12 by 12, for example, we've also built our metaverse, if you can say it like that. I'm always struggling with the right terminology here. But we created it as a virtual performance space in order to provide artists and labels a low barrier access in order to, engage with that and create virtual experiences for their community and use it either as a marketing tool in order to promote something that they're going to do and give a free experience there, or really try to tap the new revenue opportunities that you have with a virtual life market. I think this is two different things. I think one of the biggest, the first feedback that we get is always, yeah, but Metaverse is never going to substitute live concerts, And I'm saying, yes, absolutely. This is not the job, right? I think there is nothing virtually that can substitute you being sweating in a small black room in front of a stage, being pushed around in a mosh pit, right? So I think that this will be very difficult to be replaced by Metaverse. But you have to look at the structure of the tribes that are building nowadays. And these are not the communities that are built on the schoolyard anymore, where everybody's living at the same space. Those communities are built online, a lot in gaming, So a lot of the younger generations are already having a global network, but they have the same interests. They belong to the same taste clusters, they love the same brands, the same artists, etc., but they spread out all in Germany, in EU, or worldwide. And Metaverse now has the possibility for you as an artist, for those communities out there, to create an experience virtually where all of those people can meet, come together, and share and experience it together. And this is the value of it, This is the value of those distributed tribes and communities that are out there, to give them a place where they can come together conveniently without spending $1,000 for travel and whatnot, and be there conveniently together. And I think this is a very, very strong argument, and this is what people have to understand, where the value is for Metaverse or virtual performances.
Yeah, there are already huge concerts in the non-Web3 Metaverse. Yeah. I think Travis Scott had one in Fortnite, and it had 10 million attendees, something like that. Crazy number. So you have that on one hand, so it's already happening. We're not going back, that's for sure, I would say. Then on the other hand, I think there are also many people maybe they don't like to go to a sweaty concert, but they really like the experience of live music. So if you can add another layer on top of just watching it on YouTube, but now it's with VR and all these things, I think you just add another layer of experience. And like I said in the beginning, Web3 for me is all about the experience, and music is something to be experienced, something very emotional, and that just connects people. And just to come to your comment about online communities, I think that's another huge advantage, that those tribes are already meeting up, and they're doing all these things we used to do in real life, but now they're doing it online, and just adding an artist experience to that. And maybe the artist goes to a Discord before that, and they have a live talk there, and then they hop into a Metaverse experience. It just makes sense to me.
It's like you say, I think the whole thing is very complementary. Both things will coexist with each other. I wouldn't like to see myself in a world where we don't go to a concert anymore, just because it transports different, there's the word again, emotions, but it's true, because that's another feeling. Are you wearing in a VR glasses to tune in? Maybe over time we'll think about that different, because we're actually encountering, meeting other people that we just know online, but we got to know, so that's how we transfer emotions. But I'm a big believer of music concerts also being expanded by other technology like AR, which I think can be powerful if we think about what is in the future going to be changing how we live our everyday life. AR is a very important aspect, because we might not have our iPhone in 5 to 10 years anymore. We'll be wearing AR glasses and going through our distances, from A to B. Maybe you want to go to a bakery and you say, hey, I want to go to a bakery, then that way is going to be shown to you on your AR glasses. You can interact with different things. You can access apps very easily. You can call people. You don't have to pick up the device, but it's a very seamless experience of kind of transporting your messages that you have in your mind to the device, and that's how it's also going to be in the future. I think it's not just going to be based, I push a button, but it's going to be based through communication that you have, kind of like neuroscientific, advantages, and metaverse experiences. I think for artists, not just like for live concerts, but tuning into like music experiences in the studio, I think is also very powerful, because if you can see musicians do their craft, that also transports something that they can feed off, and they do feel that they're part of the music creation process, which I think is also very powerful.
Love it. So it's basically all around building your core communities online, which is now possible because of the technology that we now get.
I just had an idea while you talked about it, because you also talked about POAPs, right? So it's a proof of attendance. You go to an event and you get a badge, basically. Or maybe in the physical world, it would have been you take one of the posters home and you have your collections. You went to all the concerts. It would be maybe even be cool if you can take part in a virtual experience of someone writing a song, and then you get the POAP and, oh, I was there when this hit was created, which is kind of cool. So really partaking in the whole life and whole creative experience, there's so many possibilities. Some will work, some won't. I think it's just important to think about the financial aspects of, I can sell an NFT or I can tokenize myself, versus I think this mindset is not the right one to have. It's more about how can I create value and experiences for my fans. Those can be valuable in terms of I sell an NFT and it maybe rises in value because I created values for my fans. But I think it's important to not think about how can I create an NFT so the price goes up, because in the long term it will always be bad for you. Like, I have enough experience with people doing that, so.
You just said I can tokenize myself. Maybe you can explain what you meant by that.
Okay, I don't want to take up too much time, but very easily it's, okay, my name is Ole, I'm going to tokenize myself into 100 crypto tokens, will be called the Ole token, and I sell 100 of those tokens. Now I can decide what can people do with those tokens. Maybe those tokens, they are access to me as a musician or as a consultant, whatever. So they can take one token and pay, it's 1 hour worth of my time. It could also be it's 1/100 of my whole revenue I'm generating. So it's like a passive earning strategy. Or they can take those tokens and go to my Discord, and I have a live decision like, should I move to, I don't know, should I move to Stockholm or to New York? And they can vote on it, and I will decide based on that. So, or there's a Discord, and you can only access the Discord or chat community, whatever where it is. You can just access it when you have the token in your wallet. So there are many use cases, and tokenizing yourself just basically means splitting your soul like Voldemort, something like that, and selling the tokens.
I think it's super interesting, because something that we maybe forgot to talk about is not only the great opportunities that come from musicians and artists with Web3, but there's also some demands, that the Web3 artists will have to face. I think when you look at the Web2 or established legacy artists that are out there, they are used to be standing on a stage, and be themselves, and then the crowd can listen, and that's it. And then they have the stage time, they get down, and you can either you can either stream the songs or buy the album or whatnot, or you don't, right? And I think when you really try to credibly enter the Web3 market and try to become a Web3 musician, you will also have to be fully aware that this will demand a different type of access that you have to give to your community in transparency, and also really give your fan community a voice also, right? So they have to make some decisions, because I think from this story telling aspect, I think this is still a little bit too much Web 2 for me. the new buzzword that a lot of people start using is story living. So it's really about, you know, creating a story, but living the story with your community together, you know, and enable them also to be part of, you know, creating the story. And this is, I mean, I come from Web 0 40 years back when I was born. So this is a huge barrier for me, right? So I'm not this like open guy. I'm not the guy who is like totally speakable and talkative out there online and all that kind of stuff. And this is challenging for me. So there might be a different generation that is coming now and growing, but when a lot of artists that we talk to that are already established and grew up in the Web 2 world, for them it's super challenging, you know, to tell them what they can decide what songs come on the album, you know, and all that kind of stuff. So this is going to be very interesting to look at also, and maybe this should also be a recommendation to the artists to really understand what are the demands that come from Web3 fans towards an artist, and am I really willing to give this? Because if you don't, it's going to be difficult for you to have sustainably success.
And then it's also about authenticity, right? Because if you say every artist is going to give the opportunity to co-create with their fans, I think it's a beautiful thing if you open up their door and you let them in. But not everyone is ready for that.
And it's already difficult enough in a band.
True.
Yeah, you got 5 people or 6 people that you need to, you know,
guys,
arrange it with.
I would love to continue this discussion. It's great, but I think our time is already over.
Yeah. How about we do a 5-hour-long podcast sometimes?
Yeah, that sounds great.
That.
Maybe some final words from everyone. Want to start?
Yeah, I think go out there, try it out, talk to people that have experience and artists and that already done something. Think big, but start small. If you're still hesitant and don't know how to go further, call me.
How am I going to top that now, Philipp?
Yeah, shit.
Damn.
Okay. Yeah, no. I think it's important to stay true to yourself. I think it's important to listen to your intuition. It's important to talk to other people, to widen your network, to be open-minded, to get access to you, and to learn it along the way. Because learning is the best, and making also mistakes is part of it. Because if you've never Einstein once said that, right? If you never made a mistake, you never tried anything new. So just be open to something new, and you learn from it massively.
I can't top the Einstein one. I mean, I'm too dumb for that shit. Okay, so last words for me: just have fun. Just have fun and try to create value for your fans, but also for yourself. And yeah, if you want to ask me anything, you can find me at ole.eth on Twitter and same name on LinkedIn.
All right. Thanks, everyone.
Or just talk to me here. Thank you.